At a high-consequence mobility installation like Travis Air Force Base, the pace of operations is relentless. Strategic airlift, mid-air refueling, and aerial port logistics demand precise coordination, and the launch and recovery of these aircraft cannot afford interruption. This physical flight line is a coupled system, entirely dependent on a network of edge sensors, computational hardware, and identity verification protocols. Inside the command center, telemetry from across the base is fused into a single interface. Commanders rely on this continuous common operating picture to authorize airfield activity and maintain physical security. The vulnerability of this coordination lies in the data path. For the operating picture to remain accurate, information must flow from edge sensors to the command post without exceeding a specific decision window. If that flow is interrupted, the operating picture becomes stale or contradictory. When a commander loses real-time visibility, they face a choice: continue operations without a verified security picture, or halt the mission entirely. The objective of the base's digital infrastructure is not simply to stay online, it is to preserve flightline decision continuity. We can see the system's limits through a compound threat. It begins in the physical domain. A dense drone swarm saturates the installation's airspace. The swarm creates an immediate data flood. Radar tracklets multiply, high-definition infrared video feeds surge, and operator tasking queries spike simultaneously. At that exact moment, an advanced persistent threat initiates a cyber infiltration, utilizing the chaos of the physical swarm as cover. The attackers don't use obvious malware. They use valid administrative tools and credentials to manipulate network topology. These weak signals of intrusion are hidden within the massive volume of legitimate sensor traffic. This diagram shows the resulting collision. High-bandwidth sensor data, the blue nodes, and malicious lateral movement, the red nodes, are contending for the exact same network queues and compute resources. Once those shared queues reach capacity, the network hardware begins dropping packets. Extreme latency and jitter corrupt every data stream passing through the bottleneck. The command post is starved of fresh tracking data. The delay exceeds the allowable decision window, rendering the operating picture operationally unusable. Standard security tools often fail here. If a firewall detects the lateral cyber movement, an automated response might shut down the entire subnet, severing the very sensor feeds needed to track the physical swarm. During a synchronized event, an abundance of raw sensor data can actually destroy situational awareness, unless the system is designed to manage its own degradation. Traditional network engineering attempts to maintain zero packet loss during a surge. In a compound attack, that strategy is mathematically flawed. The alternative is AI quality of service, a protocol that abandons raw bandwidth metrics to protect mission outcomes. Instead of treating all data equally, AIQoS prioritizes the delivery of fresh radar tracks, verified command approvals, and a current operating picture, even if it means discarding bulk media. This priority ladder dictates survival. The top tiers, priorities 0 and 1, contain critical track metadata and control commands, which are guaranteed. Priority 3 and 4 traffic, like high-fidelity video, are expendable. When capacity is tight, these lower tiers compress, keeping critical commands stable. The system enforces this using distinct error budgets for track freshness and source trust. If an untrusted node violates its budget, the system takes action before the command picture is lost. In high-stakes environments, preserving a low-bandwidth, verified truth is more critical than delivering high-bandwidth noise. To mathematically enforce this contract across the entire base, we layer a supervisory overlay known as the Predictive Tensor control plane. At the foundational data layer are raw inputs and enforcement points like radar and cameras. The control plane acts as an orchestrator, not replacing native controllers. Above this hardware, the architecture splits into two distinct speeds, beginning with the slow path. Operating on a timescale of milliseconds to minutes, the slow path ingests data across all domains. It forecasts queue capacities, simulates responses, and compiles cryptographically signed enforcement policies. The computational core of this analysis is the pattern-of-life tensor train, detecting structural deviations. Once a policy is compiled, it is passed down to the fast path. The fast path operates in microseconds. It sits locally at edge switches, executing policies from the slow path. The fast path does not analyze or learn. It only meters, steers, or blocks traffic based on pre-approved logic. Decoupling complex analysis from microsecond-level hardware execution ensures that control remains deterministic, even when the network core is under siege. Sitting on top of this architecture are three specific applications. The first is SARAHAI, which handles sensor fusion. SARAHAI manages extreme physical data surges. When a drone swarm strikes, it executes a graceful degradation of media. As network telemetry forecasts queue delays, SARAHAI automatically throttles the resolution and frame rates of non-essential cameras across the base. If congestion deepens, the system shifts to metadata extraction. It transmits only lightweight region of interest bounding boxes and raw coordinates to the command post. At its most constrained stage, the system uses edge, store, and forward logic. Full fidelity video is recorded locally on the camera for future evidence, while only the critical track state crosses the congested uplink. Bulk media is sacrificed so that critical track state and target continuity can survive. Systematic degradation ensures that when bandwidth vanishes, command decision quality, not just video resolution, is protected. While SARAHAI manages the sensor flood, the second application, zero-day, defends the network topology. Zero-day uses the pattern-of-life tensor train to identify structural cyber deviations, such as novel reachability or credential misuse, that traditional malware scanners miss. When zero-day confirms an anomaly, it proposes an automated, bounded topological cage. This cage logically isolates the compromised identity. Because containment happens at the precise microtopological level, essential data pathways can route around the threat, keeping the drones in view while the intrusion is neutralized. Overseeing these automated actions is the final application, the Assistant CISO, or ACISO, which acts as the system's operational digital twin and ledger. Before zero-day applies a cage, ACISO simulates the action on its digital twin. This step guarantees that applying the security rule won't accidentally blind a critical flightline sensor. ACISO then acts as the evidentiary record. Every anomaly and automated action is recorded with a cryptographic signature and a time-to-live limit for human audit. Cyber defense cannot operate in an automated vacuum. Containment must be simulated, bounded, and audited to prevent self-inflicted mission failure. We can now return to the original compound threat, but this time under the governance of the Predictive Tensor control plane. As the data queues spike, SARAHAI dynamically drops video fidelity to route lightweight track data. Simultaneously, zero-day cages the lateral cyber movement. In the command post, the operating picture remains green and mathematically trustworthy. Despite a massive assault, the commander maintains real-time visibility of the flight line. This architecture does not replace human command or counter UAS authorities. It exists entirely to protect the information pathways necessary for humans to act. Every automated action remains within a commander-approved operating envelope, ensuring technology serves the mission. True system resilience is engineered by anticipating failure and explicitly designing for deterministic continuity.